not because I didn't have the capacity to be able to plan. It was because I didn't have the language for what I was actually feeling. For me right now, it's time to actually slow down, and it's time to take my planning system into the season that I'm currently in. Look at your systems and see if it feels heavier, like you're doing it out of habit, versus you feeling at ease and comfortable. What I was doing was at the microscopic level, and that was like type A on steroids or something. And I was like, yeah, no, we gotta rein that back because it was just too much. I want to talk about how I'm planning for the year. And it's because I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs and creatives out there that might be sitting in a similar place to where I found myself at the beginning of 2026 and towards the tail end of 2025. And it's not because I didn't have the capacity to be able to plan. It was because I didn't have the language for what I was actually feeling, at least not yet. So welcome back, Bomu Besties, to another episode of She Built Success. I'm your host, Claudia. All right, so as I was saying, I was towards the tail end of 2025, going into 2026, getting ready to plan and what that actually looked like, not only for my company, but for me personally, some of the elements and components that I knew I wanted to accomplish, but I wasn't quite ready to put the entire 2026, in this case, plan together. And so I wanted to take a step back. And so I did just that. So at the top of the year, I took that step back to evaluate what I wanted out of my calendar year that's to come. And in doing so, I found that what I was doing in the past was very qualitative. So for those of you who know me here, I am definitely a type A person. I like color coding and I like organization, and I like 12-week year was what I used for years to manage how I plan and accomplish the goals that I have or set forth. And what I was finding was that I didn't want to do that this year. It did not align with where I was or where I am for this present season. And so I shifted away from the quantitative planning. So that's like a lot of metrics and numbers and data and tracking, percent complete and all that kind of fun stuff. Not because it was wrong. It was just too rigid for what I was looking for in a planning system for this year. I needed a planning system that flowed with me, that allowed me to have the flexibility to not feel so tied to a number. Excuse me. And when I say being tied to a number, I mean there are still metrics. So don't get me wrong. I'm not throwing it out the window. I'm still a data person, but I didn't want to so rigidly on a not only daily basis was I tracking metrics in my 12-week year, and I was doing that inside of Airtable. So everything was in there, my to-do list, my quarterly stuff, my annual things. And then I also had a framework where my team would go in and contribute their elements. So they have their own to-dos, and we have percent completes, and we have things that we're looking for the month. And then we have things that we're looking for to, as far as qualitative wise, looking to attain for the quarter. And while all that has its place and it's well and good, it was just too much. It was too much, not so much as the maintenance, but to try to keep track of. Yes, I could see the graphs. I could see where things were. But I didn't want to keep doing that. It felt like more to do versus seeing things move in the manner that I thought I wanted them to. And so it was causing some stress that I didn't need to have because I was sitting there watching the numbers, like looking at them to be like, okay, well, is it moving? Is it not moving? Are we progressing? Are we not progressing? Sometimes there's follow-up reminders to check things as done and things like that. So it was like, it was too much. And so I recognized that sometimes I can over-engineer things. And in this case, I recognized that was what I was doing. And so I stopped doing 12-week year inside of Airtable altogether for this year. And this is the first time that I haven't done it since, I think I've been doing 12-week year since either 2016 or 2018. It's been a while for sure. I know it's been a number of years that I've been doing it back to back. But this is the first year that I'm not doing it. And I'm not going to say it feels weird. It feels right now to not do it. It's not to say it's done and over with, but there is still some elements that are in there. Like I said, there is still some quantitative, numeric things, metrics that I am tracking towards for the year. But I am no longer having my team follow that rigidity of the process because I am taking a different approach to how we're planning. And it was more of a habit with 12-week year. It was more of something that I was used to doing year in and year out. And for this year, it's just not in alignment, and that's okay. And for me, it's systems now that no longer that I have systems now that are no longer adding to friction that I was feeling before because I felt like I had to meet this number. And then I would get frustrated when I when I didn't meet that number. And so I'm giving myself grace this year. And maybe you're in that position. Maybe, you had a planning system or have a planning system and it's not quite fitting with where you are right now. Take a look at it. It might not be as rigid as mine. It might not be as metrics driven as mine was. But there might be something in it that just doesn't fit for this current season that you're in. And it's okay to let it go. I mean, it's a real thing. Like, I don't want you to think that I'm completely throwing out numbers, like not looking at what we're doing as a company. No, I still am. But what I was doing was at the microscopic level, and that was like type A on steroids or something. And I was like, yeah, no, we gotta rein that back because it was just too much to try to keep up and keep track of and want to measure against. And I mean, and then of course you have your social metrics and things like that come into the fold that are also being tracked within. Now we still do that, but that are also being tracked and being planned towards as far as like what works, what doesn't. But again, it's just not as rigid. And it feels good so far for it to not be so rigid. It feels good to just come in and look at what we have progressed towards, where things are, and then know that, okay, for this quarter or this month in particular, we're looking at XYZ. And then for the quarter, we're looking at, the next thing. And it's not so much tied to the hard numbers of everything. So for now, I really want to just take that breather. And it feels good to say, take that breather in how I'm planning. And it's okay. I mean, because, right, sometimes we're in seasons of, we have to drive these metrics and they actually are, a greater thing. It might be scale, it might be numbers, it might be people in terms of resources and bringing on other resources. But for me right now, it's time to actually slow down, and it's time to take my planning system into the season that I'm currently in, which is, it's not soft life era. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but it's definitely more reflective of what my current reality is and what my current season is. I mean, I have a senior in high school right now who's about to go off to college, super excited. And I really don't need the rigidity of all the metrics. And so as I was doing research coming into the new year and just trying to understand what it is I wanted to put together as far as a plan, and I don't remember exactly how I came across it, but I came across this concept called a linear calendar. And the way the linear calendar works, it has the months going down vertically. It has the days of the week going down horizontally, along with the dates horizontally. And then it almost comes off like a Gantt chart. And apparently this was something that I learned I didn't know. Apparently this linear calendar concept, like kindergartners and preschoolers, thrive well in doing that because they can visually see a time. It's like a timeline almost. They can see the timeline versus, I guess, what we're sometimes traditionally conditioned or see as the month is this, or maybe the quarter. So 3 months of the year, it looks like this, and it's kind of stacked, kind of like a wall chart, or where people like print out the 12 months of the year. And then there's like 3 months, up to 4 quarters. Right. And I didn't want to do that because you kind of lose sight of your capacity, your bandwidth. And so what I did was I adopted this process, or this, I guess, for lack of a system within the linear calendar. Now, of course, me being me, I went in and I built a tool for myself and to be able to track not only my personal items that I want to track. And it's, when I say track, I don't mean it as a to-do list because it's not a to-do list. It's more milestones or more long-term projects. You would have to define long-term, but for me, if it's longer than 3 days, then it's going into my linear calendar. Now, I abandoned Airtable for a hot second and I built this in Google Sheets. And so what it does is it allows me to see my capacity of the type of projects that I'm taking on. It allows me to see the different bottlenecks that that come about within, just planning in general. It allows me to see not only the business side of my planning, but also my life. So I'm literally combining my life type plans and my business plans in one view. And it's pretty cool. I mean, I've been playing with it. I think I got it down to, at least right now, I've planned out through June. I have not gotten to the second half of the year, and I'm okay with that. But I like it because it categorizes things. So I have one that's like client work. I have one that's personal. I have like for real downtime. And for me, it's black. And so I built it so that when I look at it, I could say, okay, am I missing? Like I'm looking at literally all 12 months at once. And I should have printed it out to show y'all what it looks like. But I'll probably see if I can't link something somewhere on this video. But I like it because it's color coded and I could see. So for me, downtime is black with a gray font. And so if my goal is to have at least 3 downtimes. So basically it'd be like 1 a month. And it doesn't have to be like a long drawn out vacation, but just for real downtime. I'm not working. I'm not planning things. I'm not running around. It's just time to reflect and relax, basically. Almost like a me time, but not exactly, because I've also put in my me vacations this year. I definitely was not doing it as frequently as I've talked about in past seasons of the podcast, more recently, but I am definitely back into it. And so it's on my calendar and in effect, and I'm very excited for it. And so for me, this linear calendar is helping me not only see, like I said, where there's capacity, but I mean, even with the podcast is in there. So coming up to a season, there's, we have to go and look at guests. We have to understand, hey, is there something that needs to happen that, as far as like procuring another space to record, even though we have the studio now, we'll see. When it's guests, it's like a lot more people. So I tend to like to have that space. But yeah, so for right now, I mean, using the linear calendar has been fun. I've genuinely enjoyed it. My homework to you is to look at your systems and see if it feels heavier or like you're doing it out of habit versus you feeling at ease and comfortable. Because frankly, it's not that you're not undisciplined or you can't focus. It may just be that it's something that's just not for your current season or the current time period, the period of time that you're in. So part of this build is really just letting the systems that I'm using, in this case it's planning, evolve and change with me. And it feels good. It feels good. So I don't look at this as failure. I look at this more as alignment. And I'll share some behind the scenes of what the building up to, quite literally, this Google Sheets linear calendar looked like. I've called it, I called it my linear planning suite because it shows me like my available days. It shows me my, like I said, like a Gantt chart, what my capacity is. It shows me if there's flags. So if I have too much cluster stuff, like I was getting ready to plan for the next season and I realized, I can't do that because we're supposed to be traveling as well. So I have to move planning either before or move planning after. So like things like that I can see really quick versus looking at it as at a month. It's a little bit more narrow of a focus. Evaluate your systems and how you're planning and leave in the comments below. Would you ever try something like a linear calendar? Or how do you what's your current planning system? I'd actually be interested to hear it because who knows, there might be inspiration within the community. Okay, Bomu Besties, that is your homework. So I will catch you on the next episode of She Built Success. Bye.